So we're waiting for Evan. I haven't hit him up yet, but I think I
That,
will.
that and spend all day telling kids to put their masks back on.
I gotta see if I can.
We start up in about 3 minutes. I I want to put together a points review for NIS like next week. Like maybe we finish filling out that spreadsheet with our finishes, and then we just kind of review that or something.
Make it happen.
Yeah. I looks like I got 16th, but there's a few people like within just a few points of me, so I could probably fall maybe to 19th.
Yeah, it's not over. I was tied with Jay for fifth, and I had finished better than him Wednesday, and it actually counted, and I jumped about 50 points ahead of him. I ran second, but those guys who are a couple of weeks behind, Miguel Bento and Keith Bridgman, just came out of nowhere, because they probably skipped a few weeks in the middle.
So you got fifth,
So far, yeah.
but you're 30 something above Jay.
So far, yeah.
I had a hell of a comeback. I was way down that sheet.
You and Tom are within 2 points.
I also finished 12th in the majors.
That's pretty good. 16th for me, but there's like one, two, three guys within striking. And one of them's Jesse Gray, Brad Miller, Nick Lockard.
Nick Locker's the one I'd be afraid of.
Right, and he's only 6 down from me.
He had a rough race. I think he was in my split in that last race. Um,
I'm done for the week, though.
oh yeah. I get to run Friday. We're done with football season, I think. Also, I suggested to Alan that he invite Evan to the Winter League.
It's a good idea.
So he did go ahead and send it.
That Winter League is going to be what day?
They're running the Legend cars on Mondays and the Cup
Wednesday.
cars on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do both of those if I can.
Hey guys, do we have anything for the poll award?
Oh.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I have the whole write-up from the last race. Let me go dig that up. I forgot again.
Good call. Okay, it's time. And Evan hasn't seen my tweet. So we'll do the normal thing. We'll start and then we'll jump into Coke when he arrives. Oh, there he is. So good. All right, there he is. So let's hit
Hey.
record.
Can I do the read through on the results?
What, the sponsor plug?
Yeah.
Yeah, the IndyCar one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, make sure in Discord you guys have everything muted. So you don't
Yeah.
have it back to double.
Yeah, I cannot mute the speaker. I can only mute the microphone.
I don't see a mute on Tony or Brian.
I don't need one. I use a separate button for Discord.
All right.
Alright, as long as it doesn't have a feedback problem or something.
Welcome, Evan.
All right, if you want to
Hey, guys.
reformat that, you can, Brian.
Okay, everybody hit record.
Gotcha.
By the way, Evan, did you get an email from or a message from Alan Pahari?
I don't think so, unless I just have missed a notification somewhere.
All right. I suggested he invite you to the winter series that we run during the winter,
Okay.
if you got time to run it.
The league.
When do you guys run?
Wednesday nights and Monday nights. They run the Cup Car on Monday nights. It's quite a few of the pros and staff members of iRacing.
So funny story. So I run a winter series. That's Monday nights and Wednesday nights.
Perfect timing. Huh?
I know it's Xfinity cars on Mondays, and then we're running the 87 cars on Wednesdays. But it's every other week. So I was thinking about running in my buddy's IndyCar league on the off Wednesdays. So maybe I'll have a couple of things open. I'll let you know though. Yeah, but I'll keep an eye out.
So it's a pretty dull show. We're not gonna have much to talk about, right, Evan?
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, nothing happened this week.
Okay, here we
So
go.
we can basically just start the show and all of the rest of us just go chill for an hour, right?
Okay, so here we go. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin,
How's it going, everybody?
David Hall,
I see you.
Greg Hectus,
What's up, guys?
Tony Groves,
Good evening, gentlemen.
and special guest Evan Pasoko.
Hey guys.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Well, it's the season's over for the Coke Series, and so glad that you were able to join us, Evan, throughout the season to do these race reviews and kind of do an in-depth dive. And do appreciate you coming on and going with us through this season. It's been great. I think our listeners have really loved the deep dive, and let's do one more. What do you say?
Yeah, and it's funny, we were just talking before we got going that very, very calm week, right? I mean, it was a wild way to end the season, so happy to be here with you guys at least for one more time this year to break it all down.
Okay, very good. Let's start. Pre-race, we had a hype video as usual, obviously focusing on the top four. I thought it was pretty good, but I think the big thing pre-race was poor, and we're going to say it now, Nick Ottinger, who ended up being the champ. He had internet problems. He was tweeting out on October 31st, Halloween, day 3 with no internet. Thankfully, I have a plan in place in case it's not up by tomorrow. And this was a Sunday, and the race was on Monday, and he hadn't had internet for 3 days, and it was the weekend. And boy, that's some nervous Nelly stuff there.
Yeah, we were talking about, obviously it's a shortened time frame, right? Especially because it's every week, and then because it was Monday, they only had 6 days. And, we were like, well, they've been busy. Bobby was running IRX, and I know Luza was blistering his hands practicing. Conti, the night before, was tweeting that he couldn't sleep. But, yeah, Nick really had things stacked up against him. And we were actually talking with him once the broadcast wrapped up on Monday, that he didn't get internet back until the morning of the race. So he didn't get home till about 1 p.m., for the 8 p.m. time. So he had, barely 6-ish hours or so actually on his own sim rig to practice. Fortunately, he got it back. He would have been able to race without it. He was at a friend's house. But, yeah, I don't think, everybody's really, kind of, I don't want to say sensitive to, but not comfortable, right, when you hop in somebody else's rig. I remember in the off season, one of the pro guys was in Vegas for a weekend and was going to miss the pro race, so I had him jump over and hop onto my rig, and he just kind of ran like 20th, right? I mean, it seems silly, but you really do feel comfortable with the equipment and the settings and all those little things that they're used to. So that was a close call for Nick.
Yeah, that really made me nervous with him being one of the 4. The other thing that came out Monday, Steve Lavender from Trading Paints put up on NASCAR.com a deep dive look at the top 20 cutoff, to make it into the Coke Series, or do you get relegated, so to speak. And he looked at what the point spread around that cut line was for the drivers above and below, as well as a little bit about their chance to make it or not. It was a nice read.
Yeah, and we wanted to cover that. Obviously, the main part of the night was the championship, but of course there were more drivers in the battle for relegation, than there were in the championship. So in a way, that was the more encompassing story for a lot of the field. And I think that's why you saw, as when we talk about the race with some of the playoff guys, those championship 4 guys getting back in traffic was, I think this weekend at Phoenix in the Cup Series, those cars are going to cut those 4 a little bit more of a break than what you saw in eNASCAR, because they were all fighting to stay in the series. So I've said it once, I've probably said it at least a dozen times talking with you guys this year, but I'll continue to beat the dead horse. It's my favorite part of the point structure is the relegation.
Yep, there you go. So it was fun to watch for sure. Let's talk about it. Early laps, it was Luza, Zelensky, Ray, Alfala, Leahy, Duval, Shearburn, Conti, Ottinger up front. Lap 7, Bobby gets the lead. And then lap 22, Luza was back to the lead. They were trading off a little bit. But as they run, Luza had extended that lead over the rest of those 4 drivers. Conti loses a spot to Bolin, is now in P5. And both Michael Guest and Santiago Terres have lost connection to the server. A real tough break for those guys.
Yeah, that's a pretty rotten way to end your year, right? And early, we were kind of wondering what was going to happen with Luza, right? Because obviously he won the race there earlier this year, and he hasn't been great in all honesty since then, right? I mean, he had been pretty quiet for the rest of the year on down. So we're like, is that speed going to be gone? Have they fallen behind? No. He was still very, very good. And once we saw that Luza was good, I think just because of his history at Phoenix and starting up front, he kind of starts this thing in the catbird seat and pulling away. Obviously, we knew that it wasn't going to be, or I guess we figured it wasn't going to be a race that was going to go green all the way. So we knew that it wasn't just going to be his. But I was really unsure about Luza, honestly, about what we were going to see out of him. And, he came to play.
Yeah, and as we ran green, you guys brought in Dale Jr., iRacing's one of newest employees, and we'll talk about that a little later in the show. But it was nice to get Dale on the broadcast to talk about what he's going to do for iRacing, or what he isn't. He's going to say, basically said he's going to do the same thing he's been doing, which is promote it, and try to get partnerships with tracks and teams and that kind of thing to get even more content. So it was nice to hear from him after that announcement this week.
Yeah, and I talk about how some guys have a bad way to end the year, and that was super cool to see, right? I mean, that's maybe get another big name involved. I know that we've had people unofficially involved, in iRacing and stuff like that. They brought in a lot of their NASCAR personnel. And talking about Dale, who joined us and talked with us, that's super cool, right? I mean, it's not going to be a situation, where he's at the office every day, but if somebody wants something done, Dale can get it done, right? So we were joking actually that expect a whole bunch of short tracks from over in the Carolinas to be scanned, because he's got that pull, and I think he's going to be a really good asset to iRacing as far as getting content. And not that NASCAR doesn't give iRacing everything they need; they're a great partner, but it helps to have some star power. So that's really cool. Then we were able to chat with him, obviously on the broadcast, but as well got to talk with him on the Zoom while we were under the commercial break beforehand. So Dale's been awesome, such a good guy to talk to, and excited to see what kind of comes out of that.
Next time, Evan, I want you to really push to get him in the broadcast calling the race with you guys. Cause
there was a rumor, that was a rumor, but I don't think he had enough time, and I think that maybe if we didn't have to cut it to NBC, we might have been able to make it work. But last week, I was told that Dale might be on the call with us, so Steve and Parker were super gracious as well to join us. I would be surprised if Dale's not on a broadcast next year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will really want to see him doing that. But he's really good at it, and that's his job. So, all right, back to the race. 40 laps completed. It was caution-free. Luza was dominant. Lap 43, green flag stops began with Brad Davies and Schoenberg headed to pit road. And then the first of the championship for pit, Nick Ottinger. And those tires allowed Ottinger to unlap himself as well. He'll end up with a large lead when the pits cycle because he's short-pitted.
And it was a big variance, right? Because we thought it was pretty clear that it wasn't going to be a one-stop race. And, of course, with Luza and, Ottinger came down first and was able to kind of cycle himself. not to get too far ahead, but Ottinger comes in, kind of goes for the undercut. We cycle things through, and he's in front and then falls back. Honestly, I thought that it was going to be all right. He's in. You got guys coming in 5-6 laps, and the thing that surprised me at this point was Conti trying to push close to halfway. A couple of cars did get to halfway, but Conti was a little bit short, so that left a question going into the second half of this race that had been green thus far on if it was really possible, because we didn't think it was going in with our fuel numbers.
Yeah, so it was lap 51 when Luza finally pitted from the lead, and like you said, Conti was he pitted at 60. He needed about 7 more laps by my count, so he didn't quite make it. Lap 64, Conti and Alfella. No, I already read that part. Sherburne was trying to make it to halfway, and I think he did actually, and one other guy. But lap 70, Luza goes by Ottinger with 6 lap newer tires for second. And then Michael Guest pits from the lead 3 laps past halfway. So it was Michael Guest who made it.
Yeah, and, we're thinking, hey, surprise winner, right? Because obviously they didn't have any real opportunities to save much fuel. I thought that it might have been tough for Conti just because when those first couple of cars pitted, he was in front, right? So once Luza came down, Conti cycled through, so he really didn't have time to draft, and I don't know if that was what made the difference for Guest, because if Conti had enough fuel to get to halfway, I'm guessing that's what he would have done, right? So that's why we think it's a big question on if the strategy was going to work. But we talked to him, later in the race, and he said, on speed, he doesn't care to finish 5th, right? If it's last week, he'll take his 5th place finish. But he said at that point, he realized, we don't have the speed to win it head-to-head. And that's when he had, at that point, saying we don't have the speed to win the race, he's talking about losing. Of course, the whole second half of the race changes that. But at that point, they're thinking, we got to mix it up.
It was 61 to go, and Luza was leading, and you did a nice onboard. And one thing I noticed is he was in the zone for sure. Like, he's got this little cock to his head where he turns to the side a little bit. You can see his eyes darting from the relative up to the mirror, up to the apex of the corner. He was just digging.
Doing everything he can, right? And that's the thing is when you have a race at that point that looked like it was going to go green, it's easy to be complicit. I still think Homestead is such a good track. Even with this package that kind of handicaps these cars a little bit, it's such a fun track.
Yeah, lap 77, Luza was over Zielinski by 1.2 seconds. Ottinger third. He was struggling, and he actually smacked the wall at one point I saw there, and he had the oldest tires of the championship 4. And then by lap 90, green flag pit stop starting once again with Schoenberg on pit road, and then lap 92, just 2 laps later, caution, finally. But it was Luza and Ottinger. They were in for service with their green flag stops. It was Alex McCollum who slips a bit. He was thinking about pitting, and the 88 of Davies plows in hard.
And we thought initially this was bad for Luza, right? Because they were in for service, and we didn't know if it happened right when they were coming onto pit road, and if they would have been penalized, or if they would have cycled out behind cars. So it was a big question because, Luza had been in control of the race up to that point. Is this going to be what costs him, the race? And it turns out that he doesn't lose a lap because he was on pit road when the caution came out, and therefore puts himself right back up to the front. Everybody else who hadn't yet pitted came down to pit road, but there was no tire disadvantage, right? The numbers would have said Luza was on 5-lap old tires. The other guys would have been on 2 or 3, right? But there were no green flag laps. So he lucks out and doesn't lose any position. And at that point, we're thinking, I think that's the turning point. We're thinking, all right, there's the yellow. He avoided getting kind of screwed out on that. That's the bullet he had to dodge.
Yep.
And it set it up even a more crazy run to the end when maybe we thought that was going to be the turning point. A later incident with that same driver ended up being the big moment of the race.
Yeah, and so on this restart with 38 to go, it was Eric Smith who stayed out to take the lead. Then it was on tires, Luza, Zielinski, Bolin. Well, Eric Smith just pulled aside basically pretty quick, and everybody goes around, and Bolin gets to second. Conti was in 13th. Ottinger clear back in 20th. Fast forward to 35 to go. It was Bobby past Bolin for second, and he was pressuring Luza, and he takes the lead.
And that's a big move, right? Because, we expected, we talked about Luza, who was able to kind of to pull away just a little bit on that first run, and I don't think that anybody expected it at the start of that run that with the fresh tires he was just going to check out again, right? I think that we're thinking it's going to be pretty even to that point, but yeah, I mean, going side to side at this point, it's anybody's race.
But especially among those two. I mean, they were neck and neck. And 30 to go, caution. It was a 3 wide down the straight. It was Jarl Tien turned off the nose of Jimmy Mullis. Conti was almost taken out of that. He just got maybe a nip of it as he went by.
Yeah, the slightest bit, and it's a game of inches. It was a game of inches in the caution earlier with the checkup and cars coming down to the pit road. We joke about how it's a whole year that comes down to one race. It's a whole race that comes down to half a foot sometimes.
Yeah, and you would think 3 wide is okay down the straight, but as they're approaching the corner, the guy on the outside is just looking to turn in, and there's just nowhere to go. And NASCAR put up a nice little replay on their Twitter of that incident.
Yeah, and the way that this race shook out was that there's your non-playoff guys, right, being a factor. Is Conti can't really afford to give those guys much of a break. He has to go for it. Conti's pinching because he's trying to get as good of an arc into turn 1 as he can. And I think that I can only guess that's why Jimmy moved up, because Jimmy kind of moved up on Jarl and hooked him around. And, talking about the game of feet that I just alluded to, I thought Conti was definitely going to be in that wreck, right? But the car spins right in front of him and totally avoids him.
And this next part really sets us up for some craziness. Novak, Shearburn, Conti, and Ottinger stay out, and everyone else pits. So Bobby and Luza both have tires. Then it was a quick caution. It was Jarl Tien on the restart. They were stacking up. He went low and then got into the low lane and kind of spun. Bobby got a few more spots in that quick run from 15th, but Luza was still mired back in 23rd. Then we restart with 20 to go. Conti trying to keep the bottom. He's stacking up. They shuffle him high to P4. It was 4 wide with Luza on the bottom coming really hard. And then 4 wide again. He's marching forward. Up front, it was Bobby up to 3rd and gets by Conti.
And this is when, me saying that Homestead is such a good track, right? Because this isn't the multi-groove Homestead, right? That we've seen it in the last couple of years with the tire model and all that dynamic track and whatnot. So for it to still be able to lead to 4 wide, part of that's the cars. That's kind of what this package is built for, is for nutso restarts. But I mean, it gave these guys options, right? And Bobby, I saw so many awesome onboards on Twitter after the race, the guys moving through the field, and Bobby kind of slicing his way through and gets up to Michael Conti on the difference, with the tires. Maybe Conti hoping, as Steve had mentioned, that maybe they get that tire advantage on the flip side. But at least at this point, Bobby Zalenski sitting real good in a race that really he was up there for. Don't get me wrong. It's not like, he was back in 10th. He was up there, but I don't think at any point we thought this is Bobby's race. And all of a sudden, the cards seemed to be lining up for him.
Well, lap 119, it kind of looked like it was his race because it was Bobby. He took the lead from Zach Novak. Luza was up to 4th, but it was in between those two, Alfala and Keegan, 2nd and 3rd. They're all VRS affiliation cars. So you're thinking, okay, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We got 2nd, 3rd kind of blocking for 1st maybe, and maybe Bobby's good to go if this goes green. But Luza was coming, man, on those new tires, and he definitely got by Keegan, and then he had trouble getting by Ray Alfala, and Ray made it really hard for him. He finally doors Alfala to the wall and gets it, and then Leahy and Alfala somehow tag each other but don't wreck.
Yeah, Luza's digging, right? I mean, we'll talk about the incident later that Luza wasn't happy about, but he was hitting cars too, right? All the way up and gets him into the fence, basically moving him out of the way. I know it wasn't like a side swipe, but, using a lot of racetrack, more than you normally would, and being defensive at that point. And, Luza knows that he's got to get to Bobby. And you talk about kind of that VRS wall. We knew they weren't going to make it easy, right? So maybe he's thinking, if I try to pass Ray, by being a little bit careful and giving him a lot of space, it's not going to happen. And if I give him 1-2 laps before I decide, hey, I've got to go, then, you're burning 2 laps that you might not otherwise have. So he's just going. I don't think anybody can blame him for driving the way that he was driving. With that, I think it's fine for $100,000 on the line.
Yeah, and Ray was crowding him, so you kind of expected it was coming soon. So the next part is really the big thing that happened in the race. 5 to go. It's Luza. He gets to the inside of Bobby. They touch just a little bit. Luza's on the bottom. He does actually complete the pass and gets it 4 to go. And then Zielinski takes out Luza, as you said. Caution, Luza is done. So what happened? He was clear. Luza was kind of arcing up the track, looking at that corner entry, just as Bobby was cutting down. And I think Bobby was trying to do what's called a crossover, where you just shut down to the inside of it and go around the back of him. But he wasn't quite clear, and their bumpers touched, and it just turned Luza head on straight into the wall.
And this has been the boiling point, right? This has been, I kid you not. I don't even know what it was, because there's never been a moment in a race where my phone blew up, right? I mean, I'm still calling this race, and after the incident, it's just like my phone was just going nuts. So it obviously was a big topic then, and I still see people going at each other on Twitter about it now. Luz is mad. I don't blame him at all. He got dumped, but I don't think Bobby did it on purpose. And there's been a lot of people analyzing lines and arcs and all this. And listen, threw a block on him. Bobby saw that, went high, and I think Bobby's going for the undercut. Luza didn't go as high, I think, as Bobby thought he was going to do. And Luza gave him room up top. There's no question. Bobby stays high. Maybe he passes on the outside. Maybe he doesn't. But Luza gave him the top. No one's doubting that happened. But I think Bobby thought that he was going to go up and block him again. So he went to cut under him. And if Bobby gets under him, he wins $100,000, right? I mean, that's the race for him. That's the race for both of them. Coming to, inside of 5 laps to go. He goes for the undercut, hooks him just a bit. Half the time you hit somebody like that, you spin out. The other half, nothing happens. And it just so happens to be that it's this time that Luza gets dumped pretty cleanly, I'll say, and Bobby doesn't really get any damage. That's a replay that we will look back on for many of years, and however many years that is, Ryan Luza and Bobby Zielinski will both look back on it probably twice as long.
I think people forget they're going 200 mile an hour. I mean, this is hard. I mean, if it was easy, everyone would do it. It's hard. It's hard to do. It's not a perfect science. We know Bobby. He didn't mean to do this. He didn't intentionally do it. He was trying to make a move, and it didn't work. And you could see on the replay that iRacing put up on their Twitter, where they have a screenshot of the both of their faces when it happened, and he was mad at himself. In fact, I think Bobby was more mad that it happened than Ryan.
The incredible thing was that we had both their cameras live. That's just luck, right? I mean, that's one of those perfect TV moments, and we wouldn't have seen that a year ago, without those live cameras. You see Ryan just kind of go white, and Bobby, saying "Oh my God" on the radio. They were both stunned, corner, because that's his only... and I'm sure the stomach fell out of both of them. And for Bobby, he feels awful, so I think it's a different kind of stunned, right? For Bobby, I don't think that's his intention at all. If it's the last lap, maybe you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Leahy and Novak last year, and half the field has said, "Listen, I'll hit you, right, for $100,000." I don't think that's the case. Bobby didn't mean to dump him. Bobby felt awful because he didn't want to do that. And at that point, he's worried that he might get penalized, right? That's like a worst-case scenario, that there has to be a judgment call if they penalize him. I don't think a penalty would have been warranted, because I don't think it was on purpose. But he's nervous. He's freaking out because he didn't want to do that. He didn't know what's going to happen. And obviously, Luz is just absolutely devastated, because he's had an opportunity to become a multi-tie champion so many times since he got his first, and that's another one out the window. And obviously this year, I'd like to say that it's just about the bragging rights, guys, to be honest, right? Like, just to be the champion. to get the ring and all that, the trophy. But you know, $100,000 is life-changing money. So it was an incredible thing to see live with both their cameras.
And of course, after the race on social media, a lot of people trying to digest this and figure out, well, whose fault was it and what did they do? And Kyle Putz put together a nice graphic that showed where they were on the previous lap going into the corner visually, and then where they were on this lap. And you could see the previous lap they were spread apart as they entered the corner, but on this lap they had obviously come together and touched. And so I think they were both crowding each other a little bit. I mean, Bobby was trying to stay low so he could do the cutover and cut down, and I think Luza was trying to get a run into the corner by arcing up, you know, to be able to make his apex.
Yeah, and you know, obviously when there's that first block thrown by Luza, then I don't think either of them are ever going to get back to that, you know, point in which they, you know, their line, right? As soon as Bobby went low, if Ryan held the top, then he enters his normal line. But as soon as these guys started throwing blocks down the back straightaway, both of them were way too shallow going into the corner. Bobby's going high because he's just trying to get up there without, you know, Luza cutting back up on him. Once you throw the first block, I think we knew at that point that neither of them were going to be in the same spot that they, quote, should have been in the 3. That's just racing, right? I mean, you have to give a little bit of credit that at this level, these guys can figure it out. And like I said, it's not like he, you know, was on the quarter panel all the way and hooked him or doored him. I mean, it was a little touch. You know, it just happens.
The tiniest touch.
Yeah, sometimes it happens in a meaningless race. Sometimes it happens with $100,000 on the line. It's just the way it is. Yeah,
on Twitter, at Chevette924 put up a nice 2-minute video where he literally goes frame by frame through the incident and describes what happened. It's pretty fascinating to watch. The other thing, Zach Novak was caught up in that. Nobody noticed, but that brought us to green, white checker number 1. Michael Conti has fresh tires in P16. Nick Ottinger also in P18 has 4 tires. We went on board with Conti for the restart. He had really nowhere to go. And we were, you know, getting a lot of then caution just short of white. And then Ottinger was 11th and Conti 12th. So we got a quick caution. They made up, you know, 6 or 7 spots each. But Ottinger, I think, was digging on the bottom probably a little faster than Conti was.
Yeah, and they both were in a position right at this point where they're on the same tires, right? Steven mentioned that this would work out in their favor if they have an opportunity to come time to get the tires. Now they do. So they're on equal ground. But like we saw in that first run, you know, where it seemed like even on same tires that Bobby was able to get to the front sooner than Luza, and, you know, then they kind of went back and forth. Nick Ottinger, Michael Conti at this point have an equal opportunity to win this championship. And I was talking with Nick, and I think Conti, from what because I didn't catch this live, we kind of went back and we were on Zoom for like 2 hours after the race or something, just kind of looking through it. And I think it was a combination of, I think Nick was, I mean, didn't even have a better spot. I think it's just, he found the holes, right? Sometimes it's luck. And I think also Conti got stuck on the bottom for a couple of these late restarts, and that allowed Nick, with all those slow cars ahead, to get to the outside of him, or sometimes going all the way to the inside, right, in turn 3, and getting into Nathan Lyon a little bit, which led to a yellow. Just that one position here or one position there is what allowed Ottinger to seemingly blow Conti out of the water, despite the fact that on the restart it was a toss-up.
Yeah, and that caution was Keister got the wall, and the 10 got the Jarl Tien. Jarl was involved in all kinds of stuff, and it was chaos after that. So then it was green, white checker number 2. Shearburn quickly gets to the lead with his tires. Ottinger is up to 8th, and then another caution before the white. It's Brandon Cattell. He's on his roof. Now Zielinski is P2, Ottinger's P8, and Conti's P11.
And every reset, we think, okay, another opportunity for Conti, right? But the way that this played out, again, 11th means that Conti was going to be on the bottom. I think that if green, white checker 1 goes to the end, you know, that those guys on the fresh tire, they're too far back. If we get to the white flag on green white checkered attempt number 2, too far back, and Bobby probably wins the race. You know, but you talk about this time through, Shearburn with the fresh tires went up to the race lead, and now, you know, the difference actually between Bobby and Nick's only like 4 or 5 spots. At this point, we're thinking it's our, you know, we're going to come up on our 3rd attempt still with Brandon Cattell getting on his lid and whatnot. At that point, right, that's it, guys. We don't have unlimited. So I'm thinking Bobby needs a yellow, like they have done the last 2 attempts, between the restart and turn 3, or he can't win it.
Or he didn't need that last caution. If he would have stayed green, he would have won it.
He's good. And now that he's on the 3rd, he just needs. It's funny. On the first 2 green white checkers, he needs them not to wreck, and on the 3rd, he just needs them to wreck one more time, and it just went totally against him.
Right, and so here we are, one more restart in the season, and it comes down to where Nick gets Zielinski on the white, and he gets up to 2nd. Chris Shearburn is going to win the race, but it's Nick Ottinger who wins the championship.
And so cool to see Nick win it, right? There's only like 5 guys that have started more races in this series all time than he has. You know, we were talking about, you know, who are some of the best guys that have never won the championship, right? And now that Nick has got it, then you'd have to look all the way down to Keegan Leahy as far as most race wins without a championship. So Nick was that guy, 2nd on the all-time wins list, a great resurgence this year. I'm not saying that the other 3 didn't deserve it, but I think Nick was overdue. And now you have your top 5 drivers on the all-time wins list are all champions. And I think that's the, you know, the Mark Martin story or whatever the story you want it to be. Nick deserved it. He was due. And so awesome to see him get a championship. You know, it's a great way to kind of highlight how NASCAR has been more involved in this series for the last 2 years, with obviously him now driving this year with William Byron Esports, and you know, with the Pro Invitational Series, how close, like a lot of teams, guys, like I don't know the stories behind all of them, right? But a lot of the teams, maybe they don't interact as much with their drivers. That's not the case for Nick, right? I mean, he and Byron are on the same every week with each other. They're friends. So it's been so cool to see that to develop. And for them to get a championship, I think is such an awesome story.
Yeah, and they show the replay on the NASCAR Twitter of basically that restart where Nick just takes off. He's got newer tires and everybody in front of him, and he catches Bobby, and poor Bobby just has nothing he can do on those older tires. There was nothing he could have done. You can't stop those tires coming, and you know, Nick just had the right tire strategy. Chris as well, and so Chris Shearburn won the race. Nice to see him win, but it was all about Nick, and boy, the emotion afterwards. Again, the cameras pay off. His family comes in. They're hugging on his neck, and he's wiping the tears from his eyes and trying to keep it together, but it's hard.
He didn't even make it half a lap. He wrecked the car in tears on the back straightaway. His hands were off the wheel before he crossed the start-finish line. You know, and the cool thing is, I think the day after, iRacing tweeted basically that last restart with his radio, and his spotter coaching him through it, and he's starting to celebrate in 4, and his spotter's like, bring it to us, like, you know, kind of remind him not to screw it up. And yeah, his car was junked by the time he got around for the burnouts, because he was, you know, just overcome with emotion. And you look back to what you saw from Zach last year and what you saw from Nick this year. You know, a lot of people ask, you know, why do we care, right, for sim racing? It's hard for people to get invested, because I don't know this kid, I don't know that kid, right? It's not like there's a Chase Elliott or you know, the name recognition. So it may be hard for a casual viewer to watch, and they're like, you know, what's on the line? Why should I care? And that's why, because you see how much it matters to those guys. So we're gonna have to get a sponsor for the Crycam next year, because I think that's being tradition, getting that split shot coming across the line.
That's $100,000 too. I mean, that's huge. Now, post-race, we had a lot of good replays, especially the guys that had tires and coming up through there. Chris Shearburn, he showed his onboard and how he won the race. Chris Overland, we're going to mention him. He finished second. What a run for him, and he had a march through the field. And then Casey Kerwin, and he was on the outside of the top 20 on this restart, and he made it into the top 20 in points because of his run in that restart. And he showed his replay coming up through the traffic. And boy, I mean, I tell you what, when you look at those, that's why I race NASCAR, is to do stuff like they're doing, to be able to, fly up through the field and turn left and right and dice. Oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those because, great to see Shearburn get a first career win. Chris Overland just misses a win again, right? I mean, how many times is he going to have to go through the ringer before he can get it in victory lane? And when I mentioned some of the clips, I was basically thinking about Casey, as you mentioned, as he picks up some 20 spots or whatever the ridiculous number was on those last 2 laps to get in by a single-digit number for the cut. That goes back to what I talked about with you guys, closing out the round of 8, how many things happened on that last lap at Texas. The Lusa 3 wide, the Leahy wrecking short of the line, all those stories in 1.5 miles. Same thing in this finale at Homestead. Just how much happened. Pass for the championship, coming to the white flag, a first-time winner, and, a totally different top 20 at the checker than it was at the 2 to go.
Yeah, and the race played out so well because of the different tires and all the different restarts. But Brian Blackford tweeted, if we could bottle up that eNASCAR stuff last night, we could turn a mega profit. I want more.
Well, like I said, I'm hoping that we get our TV dates back that we lost this year. But, just reflecting back on, how much has changed with this series since 2016 when I first got involved with it, and how much it had grown from 10 to 16 and now 16 to 20 as we continue into this second decade of eNASCAR racing on iRacing. I keep saying it, but in 5 years we'll look back at how small this was. I truly believe that. That's something that Dale mentioned when Steve interviewed him on the broadcast. I feel like it's just a matter of time before we get maybe the Pro Series officially broadcasted with iRacing. I know if people want to catch that over the course of the winter, the guys over at Podium are going to be covering that, but I feel like it's a matter of time until that's an official iRacing broadcast, and maybe Road to Pro is as well, so that you basically, I love the format that you get the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup. I think that when NASCAR looks back on the success from this year, we'll be covering more and more, and I think that'll be a good way to kind of build the storylines, because I go back to what I said about, people will be like, well, why do I care about this guy? But if you watch this name, maybe it's a guy from your home state, or something as easy as, hey, that guy drives my car number, right? Watch him in Road to Pro, then you watch him in Pro, then you watch him in Coke, right? Just that ladder, I think, is how you build people being fans of people and being invested.
Okay. And then some other tidbits. So Nick, he's been doing his media tour after the championship. He was on the iRacing Downshift podcast, I understand. I didn't hear that. He was also on the Kyle Long podcast, along with Kyle Busch.
I've still got to watch that one. That's in my to-watch list.
Yep. And we hit him up earlier today to have him on our show next week, and I hope he's available for that, but I haven't heard back. So we're hoping to get him on the show. Another thing that happened is one of our Coke drivers, Christian Schallner, has announced after the race that he has taken a job at iRacing, and he's going to be the Vehicle Development Associate Qualitative Tester.
Yeah, following in the footsteps of T-HUD, right? I know that iRacing has already maxed out capacity in their brand new office, so maybe they'll have to get a second one with all the people joining. But that's it's super cool for Christian.
It is, and obviously that means he won't be in the Coke Series next year. I don't think you can be an employee and be in the series, as Tyler Hudson has kind of shown. But good job for Christian. Glad to see they picked him up. It's a great talent. He's going to make iRacing so much better with being on staff. So shout out to him. I also have a personal shout out to Justin Belillo, Jacob Seelman, and Seth Egert for tracking the play-by-play this season on Twitter for these Coke races. That helps me a lot organize the race notes for this show. It just makes my life easy, and so glad to see not just 1, 2, or even 3 guys that are out there doing that during the broadcast. Pretty cool.
And all those guys were in the post-race press conference, which is cool because I felt like I was at a NASCAR race where we had a whole bunch of different media members hop into that Zoom call post-race to get quotes from Nick, and William was on there as well. So it felt like a real NASCAR race, right? Post-race, we had all those guys. And I would, you guys thank them for making your job easier, and I'll thank you guys as well for covering the series, because the more people that are talking about this and that are watching it is good for not only this series, but it's good for the next thing that iRacing wants to get streamed or to put on TV. So I do my best to watch the World of Outlaws, to watch the Rallycross, even to watch working on the Porsche Esports Super Cup, just doing my little part to support sim racing. So I appreciate what you guys at the iRacers Lounge do to support the sim as well and the community. So I wanted to give you guys a thanks as well while I got the chance.
Okay, thank you. And so let's look at the points one more time, specifically the top 20. Who made it, who didn't? Christian Challenger, 18th. Now, we know he's not going to do it, so that opens up a spot probably through 21st, right?
Yeah, it should open up a bonus spot. iRacing is going to decide, I suppose, if it's up to Christian if he wants to run, but I'm not sure if there's official rules against if he can't run and what the plan is. But yeah, so it would technically not be announced going into pro, right? We wouldn't be talking about top 21, but if you're 21st, then yeah, you'd be the one to pick up that spot. It would just be not official until the spring. And
that's Zach Novak, who is 21st. John Gorlinski, 20th. Casey Kerwin, with that late dash to the checker, he got 19th. Christian Challenger, 18th. Jake Nichols, 17th, and so on. What about the guys that didn't make it?
It's tough for those guys. Zach is just missing out, and I think that the way that would work is if Christian doesn't accept it, is we would take the top 21 from pro. I don't think that Zach would get the ticket right away, which would be tough. You got guys like Matt Busa who have been around for some time. Are they going to be back? Chris Overland, Malik Ray. I mean, there's all of them, honestly. Jeremy Allen, who wasn't able to race with some medical stuff in the second half of the year. Brian Schoenberg. These are guys that have been around a long time. And at some point, with the road to pro and pro getting competitive year over year, at some point those big names are going to go away, right? They've been able to, and again, funny for me to say this because I'm awful, but they can to run top 30, 30th in the Coke Series is so incredibly difficult. But soon, you're not going to be able to get away with dropping out and requalifying in, right? Because championship contenders are going to be in pro now. So I'm thinking we'll be in the range of maybe 8 new faces, 12 drivers return of those bottom 20. I've got a faith in a lot of them. I can't wait to see how wrong that guess is. But that Pro Series is going to be tough, and I'll be tuning in, and I hope everybody else is as well.
I tell you what, there's some superstars in that Pro Series. We've talked to a couple of them here recently. Garrett Maines. David, who's that other guy on that team?
Vicente,
yeah. I mean, there's some guys that are quick that I totally expect to see in Coke for their first year next year. So, Evan Pasoko, thank you so much again for coming on for this season to review these races. I know our listeners appreciate it. And, hey, maybe we'll try it next year.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. All your guys, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you in February.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Yeah, thank you. All right, then we'll jump into stories, but our stories are sponsored by Schoolyard Setups. Struggling to crawl into the top 10 in Road to Pro? Always in the back of the Xfinity? Can't find that extra tenth to compete for wins? Visit schoolyardsetups.com to get race-ready setups for the A, B, and C series each week. Enter referral code 207124 when you sign up to let them know you heard about it from the iRacers Lounge. Don't get bullied around the track again. Get your sets today. And I'll tell you what, I was top split today with Garrett Maines, Ashton Crowder, Liam Brotherton, all these heavy hitters. And my schoolyard setup, boy, was running 8th to 10th in a NIS open race. Yeah, it's good stuff, guys. Go get it.
We also have a revised one coming here too with some of the data from last night's race, so that'll be interesting. He's been really good about helping us with that.
He's been using me as his test dummy pretty regularly. And we found something that suits our styles a little bit better, I think.
And Martinsville last week was just awesome, man. That thing would turn in the center.
This thing's not much far off of Martinsville's setup.
We'll talk about it more when we get to the results segments. I'm going to go ahead and jump into topics. Our first topic is a gigantic 24-hour Le Mans trophy posted by Williams Esport. I am not sure if this is actually from the iRacing special event or some other online event, because I can't find an iRacing tag anywhere on there. But it's a pretty nice looking trophy.
I think they're just showing their actual 24-hour of Le Mans trophy that they've won before in the past. But, it's kind of cool that they're tying it into the virtual Le Mans, as they call it. And so I don't know. I mean, is this a trophy they got for winning? I didn't know they had a trophy, so I'm not sure.
It's kind of the way it's written here. We're so proud to add these William Esports trophies to all these all achieved at William Esports. So this trophy is probably, like you're saying, Mike, is something that they've already had, and then they're just adding these. They're writing down that they're adding these trophies to it.
Right. They've won the virtual Le Mans, and so they just show their Le Mans trophy, I guess, to go with it. Well, obviously, it's Instagram, and you got to put up a picture.
All right, guys. So this next story is something we've been talking about for the past couple weeks, ever since the Crandon International Raceway was introduced to iRacing on the last build. Tyler Hudson posted in the forums that the standing land rush start at Crandon International Raceway is back on. So if you have Crandon and you've been waiting for that standing start, it's ready to go apparently. So get to it.
I still haven't bought that track. I think I need to try it.
Well, how about another type of racing experience, just a virtual racing experience with Bobby Labonte. Now, the timing of this story kind of sucks, as it's going to go live in about an hour right now. So if you're listening live and you want to have a chance to race with Bobby Labonte, followed up by a 30-minute Q&A session on Discord, now's your chance. For all those listening on the downloaded version, well, hopefully they do this again. I guess you can go through it. You can buy a ticket, $82, proceeds benefiting Motor Racing Outreach. This is hosted through letsengage.com, and it's kind of a neat idea. I don't know a whole lot about this Motor Racing Outreach, but I was trying to see what they do, but it looks to me just like it's like a pastor, a religion thing there.
It's a religion thing that goes around with NASCAR to the different tracks, so they can have religious services at the track.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have Sunday morning service, I think, for the drivers and their families when they're at the track and everybody's allowed there, and they also do a lot of the invocations done by them too, right?
Yeah, and they do stuff with the kids of the drivers and stuff like that, yeah. It says here, all ticket holders are invited to a private 30-minute virtual Q&A session with Bobby, where attendees can debrief on the race and pick the brain of NASCAR's latest Hall of Famer. Following the event's conclusion, all attendees will receive a personalized video from Bobby thanking them for attending.
It looks like there's still 20 tickets remaining, so it's definitely not filled up, but it's too bad we didn't know about this last week. It would have been a much better.
Well, Bobby's got to do better at getting a little more lead time. I mean, we're a weekly show, and we still missed it, even though we're only 7 days out. He only announced this, I think, on Sunday, and it was happening on Thursday. So I'd love to see a little more lead time.
Yeah, he posted on the 1st. Sorry, Tony.
It was on the 1st of November is when it was posted.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to get. You need 2 weeks for this kind of thing. Sell it out, and then you can start planning for the next one, because I can see how this would be a really good thing. Throw it to charities or organizations, and the community really gets behind these kind of things. Especially when you got someone like Bobby Labonte. You need to have some other guys, join up with this kind of thing. Could be a decent thing, but definitely need more than just a few days. Let us get the word out.
They need to have more drivers maybe do things like this to try and, if they're trying to raise money for things, having a celebrity in the race definitely would help, sell tickets and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it's a neat idea, but I'm still seeing like 20 tickets remaining.
It's a high cost too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But look at the majority of us with our rates, and we got no problem spending money on this kind of thing. So this is a this would be a really neat, fun experience, and you're able to engage with Bobby. There's only so many people that can attend that race, so it's a pretty small crowd. So you're gonna really get that chance to be able to ask your questions or pick his brain or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, most like high profile celebrity type drivers on iRacing, they're usually pretty quiet in the race sessions and practice sessions. So this would be a lot different, I guess, because you're kind of paying for the conversation and everything.
Yeah, and then if you think about it, you go to say you go to Comic-Con and you want to meet up with this one of those celebrities just to get a picture and like a quick handshake is like, you're a lot of the time it's minimum $100. This is way better than that.
Okay, so this one's a quick article here, just as a reminder. The Corvette C8 Championship Series that iRacing's or the GM's putting on, Kevin Bogut reminded everyone just to remember to sign up for the series that's being the event will be held on the 21st of November. If you want more information on it, go to at chevrolet.promo.eprize.com/iRacing to get more information on it and sign up. I think we said this you guys talked about this last week. It's only for U.S. citizens.
Yep. Just a reminder that it's coming.
That's how you give yourself some leeway, some lead time. That's not for a couple more weeks yet.
Right. So Chevy did this right, unlike Bobby Labonte. They gave us a month's notice, and so we're going to talk about it, every week until it happens. But, and Bobby gave us 4 days. Next up, we got how to archive replays. A nice post on the forums. Hans Verheij is currently saving all his replays for all his official and league races and asks his community for archiving ideas. Michael Kuczynski says uses an external hard drive to save his replays and moves them from them back to the replay folder to watch. Staffer David Tucker added that you can make a sim link for the replay folder to a replay folder on your new drive, allowing access to them without moving files. And then we have 2 YouTube videos that explain the installation and usage of that software. So I've never tried to implement a second drive. Are you guys running 2 drives?
Well, a lot of us have, like a solid state drive that runs our software, and then we have another drive that kind of runs as our storage. So I have a terabyte that sits on and stores all that stuff. So I have plenty of room.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea to set it up this way if you're saving that kind of stuff. I don't save replays really.
I save a few of the special moments, but imagine as many races as a lot of us run, how many replays that would be.
Right, and if you're not going to do anything with them.
Yeah, well, Hans, Hans. I'm sorry, Greg. I was just gonna say, Hans. He wants to like save all the replays, all of his official and league races, the whole races. So he's going to chew up quite a bit of memory. So it kind of makes sense if you're going to do that to have an external hard drive or secondary drive.
I think I should probably do this because I do a lot of video editing and try and use images from it. So maybe this is something I should look into.
A lap at most road courses is about 30 meg of data.
So the 24 hours Le Mans would be a lot?
I could do the math, but I don't feel like it.
Speaking of 24 hours of Le Mans, lemons.
Yeah, guys. Hang on a second.
Oh.
All right, sorry about that. I completely lost my place. So Corey Hasselhoff is letting everyone know that he posted this on the forums that he's going to host a 24 hours of lemons race at Laguna Seca using the Mustang, the Jetta, the Mazda, and the Solstice car on December 12th and 13th. And there's a $5 entrance fee. So if you're not familiar with the 24 hours of lemons, it's a race that they hold across the track, across the country, where people bring just the crazy looking cars. They'll take these junker cars and they'll kind of like just decorate them almost like Halloween sort of, and run these cars on the track for 24 hours if they can, and it's a lot of fun. And it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in joining Corey in this race, check it out on the forums. It's Corey Hasselhoff, Hesseleu.
It's a pretty cool event. I just find with those 24-hour races, the only thing that kind of keeps you going is the speed aspect, and those would be some long laps that would kind of drag on, I would feel.
That's what I'm thinking is I'm trying to picture myself in a Pontiac Solstice doing 24-hour race. Seems weird.
You're still going to get the feel, though, of the multi-class. It's not just that's what's special about endurance racing is you're not just it's not just a parade of the fast guy. You're passing slower class cars of racers that are actually better than you, and vice versa. That's what makes endurance racing is passing those other cars or getting past.
Are these cars differ from each other time-wise?
It would be 4
yes.
different speeds, wouldn't it?
Some of them might be pretty close, but yeah, like the Mazda doesn't have very much horsepower at all.
I think the Mazda and the Solstice would set the same lap times, probably, right?
Probably pretty close.
They'd be pretty close.
And then I don't know anything about the Jetta, and that Mustang is got a lot more power to it.
See, that Jetta, like, it's weird because I haven't heard about that Jetta in a long time. Like, you barely see it. Obviously, it's one of the archived cars, right? So, but that car was so big when it first came out. Probably, I want to say 10 years ago.
The winner should actually get an actual lemon for the trophy.
It's a $200 purse.
Yeah, and you can take that $200 and go and buy one of those cars and actually participate in the real one.
How many lemons can you buy with $200?
It's a good question.
So I actually responded to his post because a lot of the fun at these lemons races is how funny some of the cars are. They're really people get real creative and original with them. So I sent a message to him about what about having a secondary prize for the most creative finish. Obviously, you can't add things to the car, but you can do creative paint schemes and stuff like that. So I don't know. I thought it might be something you might want to think about.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, pretty cool. I just kind of stumbled across this on the forums. If you want to participate, search the forums for 24 Hours of Lemons.
So we already talked about it quite a bit with Evan, so I'm not going to really rehash it, but we did talk about the fact that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has joined as an executive director on iRacing, and Greg's going to tell us a little bit more about his personal announcement.
So the personal announcement came off from his actual account name, Ralph Earnhardt Jr. And he posted this. He goes, "Exciting times for me today to officially join the iRacing family. I don't think a note here was necessary, but some new coworkers encouraged me to do so. I have been a customer here since day one. I worked for some time with the beta before launch. It's been fun to see what it's become today. iRacing has had a lot of room to grow, with our new relationships to create partners and tracks and manufacturers. There are always critical improvements to be made in the customer experience and on and off the track. I hope to continue being a proponent of these things going forward, as I have over the past 2 decades. This is a great community where I created amazing friendships with more to be made." And he just keeps going, or just basically talking about the community and how he's excited to start this chapter that he was already part of, right?
Yeah, a little side note, the Ralph Earnhardt is actually his second account. He basically retired his account that used to run the Coke series back in the day, and after he'd come back, he decided everybody had moved so far past him, he wanted to start fresh.
Which is funny because they've kept his original start date on it, so they've obviously edited that.
So, sportsbusinessdaily.com put out an article about it, and they had an interesting tidbit. It says here, quote, "The talks were consummated when Earnhardt challenged his management team to formalize a relationship he has been building informally for years. The deal includes Earnhardt receiving a set compensation as an endorser with additional financial incentives that could see the deal become more lucrative for the former driver."
So is that Mike's job from the show?
Mike Davis, yeah.
Mike Davis?
What's interesting to me is that Dale started this. It wasn't iRacing coming to him trying to hire him. He's like, "Hey, make me a job."
Well, do you think it's kind of just, maybe get a piece of it before it gets, like, he's seen how it's blown up this year, seeing what it could go further, maybe being a part of it?
You think they would probably gave him a percentage point or something, a buy-in?
Well, on the same hand, he has been there since the beginning and has been, one of their chief sources of promotion and feedback, even back into the early days.
Well, and instrumental for connecting iRacing with NASCAR. Instrumental. I'm going to read this quote that none other than John Henry wrote. Now, remember, John Henry is the owner of iRacing. He said, quote, "We're elated to officially welcome Dale to the iRacing team as an executive director. For more than 20 years, Dale has been a passionate advocate of sim racing, whose efforts to improve the product have dramatically shaped our direction as a company and relationships throughout the sport for the better. Through all this time, he's never been paid a penny for his contributions. After discussions earlier this year, we pursued a mutual interest in having him come on board as an official member of the company, and we look forward to continuing our growth with Dale's guidance for years to come." Pretty freaking cool. Everything that's happened with iRacing this year in 2020, I kind of didn't expect this, and now this happens. This is a big deal.
It kind of just puts a face, like more of a face to it. Obviously, like, I was watching we watched the NASCAR race on the weekend on NBC. They had a commercial for the Coke series in the race, to have that publicized on national television. And then obviously when they're talking anything that's like technical in the sim racing part or testing or something like that. You know, Dale never forgets to mention iRacing, right?
Yeah, and on the forums, Arjun Sheppers, who's from Europe, he posted up, you know, I'm a guy from Europe and a big F1 fan, and even I know this man is a legend. Welcome. And I think he really points out a fact that, you know, having, like you said, Greg, a face, a well-known name, somebody like a Dale Earnhardt Jr., he could call up, you know, one of these F1 teams, or he could call up a Monza racetrack, or, you know, Abu Dhabi, you know, or some of these places that we haven't scanned, and say, you know what, I want to touch base with you, and you know, let's cut a deal. You know, he can get an interaction or an introduction that other people can't, because of who he is.
Well, and you wonder any of these lost speedways, if they have any track like layouts still left, if they got images, if they can do, if they come up with like missing content or something, they got time to do something different. Do they do what they did with North Wilkesboro before it goes away type thing to some racetracks too, with the way he loves old history too, right?
Yeah, there's lots of opportunity here. I mean, Dale has a lot of stuff on his plate. I mean, you got to remember, he works for NBC. He's got his own podcast weekly. He's a busy guy. He runs a race team, and now he's got this. So, but it's pretty cool.
He's getting a break from the TV deal for about almost 8 months now soon, though.
Okay, guys, so it's November now, so everybody knows what's coming up at the end of the month. That's Black Friday. And iRacing has made their official introduction of their Black Friday specials coming up.
Resub time, yes!
Yeah, it's time to renew. So it looks like they're doing 25% off, I think, of 1 and 2 year membership renewals. So yeah, so that's when I always renew mine every Black Friday to get this deal. And yeah.
And it's 50% off for new members.
Wow. I renewed right away, 2 years. My renewal was up December 10th, and so I'm doing it every other Black Friday. And so it's $150 for the 2 year renewal. That's down from $200, so you save $50 or 25%. I did the math, and I think I figured out it was 22 cents a day is what I paid after tax. So that's what it costs to iRace, is 22 cents a day if you take part of the 2 year deal.
Well, I can't do the 2 year deal, but I am going to be getting 2 1 year deals.
Oh, because you need 2 accounts, for Lisa.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, we got the 50% off last year, but
That's an interesting having to buy a double, right?
yeah.
So even though you might not be up for renewal, do it anyway. It stacks on the time you already have. Okay, you don't have to be like ready to expire like I was. You can, even if you have a year or 2 left, you can buy an extra year or 2 and just tack it on the end. And you know, it's a great time. Again, this is the best deal of the year that you're ever going to get on iRacing. Okay, you're not going to get more than 25% off. This is it, guys.
Well, and I think they've even pretty much done away with the summer sale, have they not?
Yeah, I think this is pretty much it, right?
Yeah, I think I know. I remember last year I was waiting for the summer sale because that's when my renewal was in the summertime, and it didn't happen. So I just had to buy a 3 month just to get me to Black Friday because I'm cheap, right? But this is it. Get it.
This is it. Yeah. Okay, so next up, UI gripe. Now, it wasn't me, but we had somebody who posted up in the Facebook groups, and I actually didn't get a name, but I'm going to read what the gripe is. It says, "A gripe I have with the UI. I want to practice VRS Sprint Series at Donington. The 5 p.m. race was at Monza, The 7 p.m. race was at Donington. When I click practice, it brings me to the Monza practice. I have no way of knowing when practice switches from Monza to Donington. This is not a new thing, but at least with the old web UI, I could see which track would load when I hit the practice. Am I doing something wrong, or is this a valid gripe?
It's a valid gripe.
No.
Yeah, if you're on the web interface, you can see practices for both tracks.
Now, I might be wrong. That was something that they've added to the web page a couple of years ago, or like in the last little while. You used to not be able to have that problem when it was switching over. You kind of had to anticipate that it was switching over, and there was no practices until the 8 o'clock or our time, 8 o'clock my time back in the day, or back when.
They've got it now where the practices start a little sooner for the new week, but you can still always tell which one is going to load, because now when it's transition time, there's actually it'll show like about 8 or 9 practices for each on the page.
Yeah, I know at some point that got added to it, because I don't remember. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't remember. It used to be, because I used to remember the A class used to race, I think, at 8 o'clock, and when it used to switch over, you kind of just went straight into a race room without having practice on the next track.
All right, we got the next thing. Greg West posted a little bit of information about the penalties and how they work in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports session. All right, these use the super sessions to help set the field, and it's basically a forum post detailing the list of the penalties, including the definition of egregious. It has stuff for first offense, second offense, and third offenses. It notes that you can also get your account suspended as well as suffer Porsche Series penalties. And what's neat about this is that on some of the offenses, they actually give time penalties. And they've been posting after the sessions and after the reviews, people who have been penalized. Boy, I wish they would do this everywhere. But this is, it's good to know what's going out there, because it gives you a little bit of more of a feeling of justice, basically. Because you can't retaliate, you can't go see them in person, So you want to know that something happened.
I like it. Remember earlier in the year, there were penalties being handed out, but they weren't public, and so we were hearing it second, third hand on Twitter, and it was all speculative, and this kind of ends that. I mean, we have Greg West, a member from the staff, posting up the updated results that include a 5-second penalty on this particular guy, and you know who he is.
And the thing is, even the appeals are going straight to the Porsche director at iRacing.com. That's where the appeals got to go.
And that's for the series specifically. However, if you get any kind of suspension, I think you still have to do that with the regular process.
So you're talking outside of the series?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take 2 topics in a row here. I'm going to skip one that you have, David, but there was 2 iRacing UI release notes this week. The first one did a quick update to the dashboard. It fixed a price list problem, I guess, for when you're buying something or you're checking out for one of the discounts. And then it added a bunch of new track maps for Volusia, WeatherTech, Wild Horse, Motorsports Park, Wild West, and the Williams Grove Speedway. So that was the first one, and then I think the other one was earlier today.
Yeah.
They had a new filtering structure that has been added to. It's for filtering out event types, track types, setups, things like that, so you can look things up. And then they posted on the iRacing support Twitter page showing where the filter button was and what was added to the page. So this is another thing that they're adding to help make things a little bit more, better when you're looking stuff up in the UI.
this looks nice from what I can see in the picture. And this would fix a lot of the problems I've had with some of the UI, where it's not giving you all the information. So by using this filter, you can like filter it out. Like, I only want to see races. I don't want to see practices. You know, you can remove the practices and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll have to give it a look.
The odd thing is just looking at this, like the more, even this Twitter picture that screenshot they sent out, it just seems like there's just way too much going on the screen to follow. I don't know. That's just when I look at the UI, it just seems like there's a window for every single thing. And it might be just me being so old with the website and comfortable with it. It seems like they just keep adding another window upon another window upon another window.
So, Tony, would you like to tell us a little bit about the iRacing Endurance Series prizes?
Apparently not. I was wondering what that long break was. I was like, well, that's got to be me. All right.
A little behind the scenes, actually. We're using a video connection at the same time, first time for everybody, and everybody's pointing to Tony on the screen.
And I don't have that screen up. Oh, I miss my multiple screens. I'm just running on a one. Anyways, yes, Greg West released the names of the winners of the iRacing Endurance Series. And so we got the prize winners of the Huskenveld Sprint Pedals are Riley Downey, Alfredo Amador, Roland Schartner, Will Woodland, and the SimLab P1X winner is Karsten Nudek. Congratulations, guys, and
Wow.
Enjoy your new fancy schmancy stuff.
That's some nice hardware.
Carson got a good thing out of there, hey? I mean, everybody's a winner on that list, but man, he got his own cockpit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to win a SimLab cockpit. And then the Huskenveld Sprint pedals, too, for 4 guys.
That's a really awesome prize set that was put out there. Good on them for offering it in that race.
Okay, next up we got according to a forum post by Bill Wright, the iRacing broadcast director Drew Adamson announced that the iRacing Esports Network on YouTube will be pulled down by November 30th. The iRacing Live portal will be revamped and redone in its place. So if you recall, I think it was 2018 when iRacing basically started a second channel from their main one on YouTube, and they put it under what called YouTube Gaming. YouTube Gaming was a thing for a while. And then they would put all the 24-hour racing stuff up there, just all these random leagues and different things, and kept it off of their main channel. And so it sounds like they're just getting rid of that second channel and going back to one.
Is this the one? Does that tab at the bottom of the screen sometimes when it's live, does it go to that YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it goes, right?
I believe so, yeah. But then you got like the Coke races. They were putting those on the main channel because they have more followers and they want, more coverage, more viewers. So it makes sense. I think there was some discussion on the forums about why are they doing it and that kind of thing.
Because when you search iRacing and you have 2 options, it's really hard to figure out, where you're gonna, you can subscribe to both, I guess, but sometimes it's hard to figure out which one you're going to want to be looking from if you're going to look for stuff, right?
Now, I found Mike Olette. Now, he's the guy who runs the majors, right, David?
Mike Olette runs the majors.
Yeah. So he posted up his thoughts on this, and I'm going to quote him. He said it is definitely shutting down. Broadcasters have until the end of the month to migrate their series off of it. The following is my pure speculation. I'm guessing they will continue to broadcast the Pro Series and very, very select number of events on the iRacing official YouTube. My guess is the amount of content on that iRacing Esports network got to be so much that, number one, the importance of the races on that network was watered down. Number two, the quality control was too hard to manage. Number three, subscriber numbers on the channel became stagnant, probably because of number one and number two. I could be wrong. But I think he's got it right, actually. I mean, I'm a big sim consumer. I love sim racing, but I never really went to that channel and watched racing. It's just too much, you know, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Brian, do you want to watch the guy race the AI?
Oh yeah. So Davin at Drive-Thru, that's his Twitter handle, and he has a YouTube video at just Drive-Thru is his YouTube channel, and he's got an idea. Now that the AI is out in the Xfinity series, he's going to race a full season with a full field of Xfinity cars, and from start to beginning. And he's going to follow, and you can follow along on his YouTube channel. So he's going to be posting all the races of his AI full field race series on his channel, and you can watch him as he goes along.
And I did watch his first video, race number one. He put his own stages in. He's got stages, stage breaks, and it was interesting to see, you know, how his race played out. He's got everybody named like they're real Xfinity drivers, you know, and the paint jobs all match and everything. And it's kind of fun to hear him. And he shows his face on the video as well. And he talks throughout the race about, you know, his strategy. I just slipped and he hit me and, you know, those kind of things. And I did spend about 30 minutes watching this. It was entertaining, I thought. It's kind of a neat idea to do a career mode, but I don't think iRacing has made it user-friendly enough to do. I mean, it's really hard for me to dial in the correct strength of the other drivers, so it's a competitive race.
And are all the tracks available for Xfinity? I didn't know. For AI, I don't think they all are.
They're
Not
not
everything.
available for a cup.
Not
Good
a lot
point.
of them.
Right.
You've only got a select amount for Cup. I was
Right.
just looking at it right now to see what the actual tracks were. Atlanta,
Yeah, so
Charlotte, Chicago, Daytona, Dover, Homestead, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Martinsville, Michigan, North Wilkesboro, Phoenix.
At first, I was keen on this because I'm like, oh, he's going to show us how to set it up, you know, how to get the paints, how to get the names, how to get the right strength of field, so to speak. But he didn't do any of that. He just talked about what his idea was, and he just jumped into the race. So I'm kind of keen on somebody else setting that up for me. I think I did that before when AI first came out with the restrictor plates. There was some guy who came up with the correct settings that made everything about right. And it was fun to do that. And so I was kind of hoping he would lay it out that way, but he didn't. But maybe somebody will. And I'll try it.
So a lot of things today are about trends, and it looks like iRacing.com posted on their Twitter a trend that we've been seeing going all over Twitter with before and kind of like before and now photos. So you got how it started and how it's going, and basically iRacing will look like they're trying to tease us again with Long Beach. So they showed the beginning start when they started working on Long Beach in the how it started photo, and then how it's going, a beautiful design of what it looks like right now with while they're still working on it. So I'm really interested to see how this track is and to get on this track and run it when it's fully done.
It's
That
looking good.
That roundabout corner looks insane.
Yeah, and it's I'm really surprised that when they thought of this track, like getting around that corner it's such a tight corner. You can't go more than one car wide there, and if you miss the corner at all, you're coming out. It funnels basically into a wall if you don't get up to that corner properly.
I just, looking at the picture, the finish picture, it's got the palm trees. It's got the building made of glass that's right outside that turn. The fencing and everything. It's really come together art-wise.
Well, just even like I notice a lot of things because when you're in VR, you can pay attention to some of these things, but you got the textures on the ground and the wall and the way the paint has a different texture than the wall cement texture. There's little things like that in these pictures. There's so much detail.
I don't know. The trees look too perfect. They all look identical, but other than that, I'd say it looks very realistic.
It looks like they had like 3 templates for trees and they just stamped them in places.
So Long Beach is hashtag soon. All right, let's go into podcast housekeeping notes. Don't forget to email us at iRacersLounge@gmail.com. Any story ideas, anything. Just send us a link. Don't forget our show notes. There's a link in the description of every podcast where you can see links to everything we talk about. Don't forget we're on Performance Motorsports Network. I did tune into them randomly this week, and sure enough, we were on in the middle of the day. So they play us on a regular rotation there. And with that, Tony, let's talk fantasy.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. Martinsville, that was a pretty fun race, right? So much controversy. Quite frankly, that's what I want to see at the end of the season. Even if some of it is a little bit silly, a little bit crazy, but gave everyone lots to talk about. And I know in my household during fantasy, like that race last week, there was lots to talk about because, oh man, thankfully I had like a nice, nice padding and points because, tell you, the last couple of races I haven't done all that well. My predictions were just completely shot out the window, and it just kind of felt like I didn't know what the heck I was doing. But it kind of seemed like a lot of guys were in the same boat. I mean, you get down to these last few races, and it's really hard to, kind of pick not what other people are picking because it's pretty condensed. Like, okay, well, these guys are going to do good. And, it takes a real sharp eye and a real good roll of the dice to, go off of that and try and find those little diamond in the rough drivers that are going to score you a lot of points that, the other guys aren't really picking. So that definitely needs to be part of your strategy. But, that's it. We got one more race left Sunday, Phoenix, and that's all there is. So just remember that the Phoenix race, the 4 guys going for the championship, they do not score any stage points. So some good advice is, take that into consideration making your picks this week. I don't want to say that I got the win wrapped up, but it is going to take a miracle to knock me off my perch. I'm still sitting just above a 100-point lead, and not to say that it can't happen, but you know what? I might Harvick it. I might just Harvick it and just totally crap the bed. But this has been a really, really fun season doing this, and there's been a lot of movement in that top 10. Not so much coming out of Martinsville, heading into the last race, but keep everybody hanging in. We got 15 people that hung with us throughout the whole playoffs. been a lot of fun, and we've got some stuff to announce next week when we declare the winner, and we'll have some fun with that. But a quick rundown of the top 10 for the second to last time. TG1 Racing, myself up in first, Res Dogs in second, GI Jojo's third, Smiling Ninjas in fourth, Kerry Cials in fifth, Just in Time sixth place, Laird Racing, Jedi McFly, Team 207, and Romance Girl rounds out our top 10.
And I am sitting P16, and I happen to be 16th in points in NIS. I find that kind of fascinating.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting one. Now, have you been playing throughout the playoffs, Mike?
Well, I've been picking, but I don't spend more than a few seconds picking, so yeah. And I don't change it throughout the event and stuff like that.
Could do what I did. I left Texas as in, and I went out to. I was like, told myself, oh, I got about 10 minutes or about half an hour to change my lineup, and then I realized what time the race started, and I still had Texas's setup or lineup in there, which was fine, but you'd lose. They don't keep the winner or the stage things in there. It basically blanks them out, so I had no stage or winner set up for it.
Yeah, and those points can become so key if you can nab them. They've helped me with, I haven't hit on the lineup. Made this big bracket, and I got 2-3 guys that got wrecked out, but my day was saved because of I was able to nail maybe a stage or two, and maybe I got the winner or just the manufacturer. But those extra points are so key. It's really important to try and stay up on those.
Okay, one more week left. Let's move to hardware software.
Our first ticket is a continuation of the thread we were talking about the other day with the release of AMD Radeon 69 XTs and the comparison between them and the NVIDIA 3090s. And a highlight of this is a reply in the thread where basically one person, Thomas Ladowski, wrote that he thinks it's going to be better in every way than the 3080 except for ray tracing. Another person replied, I think it was Bino Van Rensburg. He replied that not for iRacing it won't, going by the leaks. And then Philip Morton, a member from Australia, also noted that he has to agree that for an iRacing dedicated car, for either triples or VR, 3080 is still the card to aim for single screen or other stuff beyond iRacing. AMD might be a good choice. It's interesting. We talked about recently that iRacing says that they use multi-threading to an extent, but then I still hear people on the service say that the CPU usually ends up being the biggest bottleneck.
I think it's true. Both things are true. Yeah, and like you just pointed out, there's some discrepancy about, AMD or NVIDIA. I mean, I did put up a picture on the script of a bar graph comparing the 3090 to the new AMD 6900 XT. And as you can see in the bar graphs, they're pretty similar. In fact, the AMD outperforms in a few categories, but not all of them.
So yeah, I guess you could say the results are uncertain, and we're still waiting on a count.
Well, and yeah, we don't have people that have gotten these new cards yet, and posted about them. So we'll have to wait and see. Next up,
it seems like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just saying, doesn't seem like go too wrong either way. But if I remember correct, the AMDs were a little cheaper too.
Okay, I got this one. Last week we reviewed the company SimAPX Racing Simulators. And then we received some feedback from listener Denver Turgeson that the company may not be completely legit. We did reach out to another member in the forum who have had some experience with the company. And so I'm going to read some of the stuff we heard about this company. Now, to remind everybody, it was out of California, and they had an 8020 that started at $250. And Denver, he posted, SimAPX is a scam site that has a ton of people trying to get their money back from them. No one has ever received an actual product from them. Hopefully no one ordered from them after listening. Can't wait for the next episode. And then I went digging a little bit in the forums, asking somebody who had posted about this company, hey, what was the outcome of your order? And we never heard from that particular guy, but several other members posted saying they found on Reddit that there was a quote, went back and forth with the company from almost a month. Others who have ordered haven't received their product either. They stopped responding to my email, so I filed a chargeback with my credit card company. And so we have that. And then there was another post in the Facebook groups about this, and there was a Gene DeSlores said, right now there are a few people saying they are still waiting on their rig after a month and giving excuses after excuses. Buyer beware. So we talked about this amongst our group, that we don't really spend a lot of time on these stories. We find them, we put them on the script, and we talk about them. And I hope all the listeners understand that we don't guarantee that these companies are good or whatnot, and we're just having a discussion about them. But if there's listeners that have more information, please send it in, just like Denver did, so we can update the following week and make sure people understand what's going on.
Yeah, and anytime if you really want to check in on a business, and it's legitimately, at least in America, there's this thing called the Better Business Bureau, and you can check and see if a company has had complaints filed against them or not.
Yeah, and so we try to do our homework, but we don't do a lot. As you can tell, we have a lot of content that we review. So keep that in mind as you hear about hardware from us. All right, Brian,
Yeah.
more Black Friday.
Yeah, more Black Friday stuff. This time from SimLab EU. So SimLab EU announces that their Black Friday deals are starting on November 13th. They will be offering 12% store-wide discount on their products. So so that's not too bad, 12%. So if you want to check it out on SimLab website, it is I don't have the website name here, but just check out SimLab EU, and I'm sure you can figure it out. And it starts on the 13th and goes to the end of the month.
Yeah, I still think that's the rig that's probably most popular. A lot of people seem to get it.
So the next product we got here is on, it looks like the Sim Racing Pro Instagram page. It's a set of pedals. Very nice looking, simple pedals. From what I can tell from the picture right now, at least looking at it, they're load cell pedals. It'd be just trying to bring up the product here. They're their SRP GT line, and what they described it as is a set of high-end pedals for professional and sports racers, I guess. The innovative pneumatic piston technology composed of high-dense gas exerts optimal pressure for the transducer, I guess. So it's a little bit more of a different setup for a set of pedals here.
Pneumatic piston? I don't know if I've heard of that.
So it's just a different, I guess it's just a different way of making it.
Different way of doing a load cell.
Doing pressure, yeah. They're not cheap. 822.31 here on the site. I guess that's euros, right?
Yeah, this is Spain.
So I mean, it looks like you can buy them right now on their website. So if you go to the website simracing-pro.com, you can look this up and see they have a bunch of lines here, I think, of pedals. Oh no, they just have the one set. I'm just trying to see if they had what they have accessory wise for it. Just looks
Comes with the base plate, it appears.
yeah, base plate. There's some adapters to install the pedals on a cockpit play seat. So it looks like they're kind of working in junctions with play seats.
I love the orange. The orange pedal faces, so to speak. They really pop.
Anodized orange.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if they offered like colored choices there to match your. I mean, obviously their image is orange, so that's why they've kind of orange pedals. But an anodized red or blue option would be kind of cool. But it's a good. It looks like a new way of trying to get the load cell pedal. So if you guys want to get that, it's at simracing-pro.com.
How many truck drivers do we have on the team?
Me, Tony, and Tony. I guess that would be who it is. Me, Tony, and Tony.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I don't drive a rig anymore. It's been a few years, but when I did drive a rig, I certainly didn't have this kind of setup, and I would have loved to have it back in the day. But this is another truck driver showing off his setup for when he's on the road, and it's in the back of his Volvo truck. He's got a nice little table and setup in the back, and man, that would have been awesome when I was running over the road. I just had the bunk, but yeah, it looks like he's got himself a little folding chair to sit at, and he's got his wheel and pedals on the end of the table, and the monitor sitting in behind.
I think we lost sound from Anthony.
Yeah, this is one of those Volvo semi trucks that's got like a big old, area to live in behind the driver, and that's where he's got it set up. It looks like a Logitech wheel, perhaps, and pedals.
So I'll give you guys some insight into a Volvo semi truck. That table, it drops down a bit into where those seats are, and those seats, I believe, fold over or flap over top of them, and it creates a bed there. And I think some of these trucks come equipped with a second bunk ahead. I can't see if this is one of those trucks that would have a second one above it. I'm guessing with the kind of the angle, it probably doesn't, but that basically would turn into a bed area when he wants to go to sleep at night.
I love that setup. I love
Volvo
that.
trucks are the only trucks you can get away with doing that in. There's not many trucks that create a table out of your bed area.
Well, that should be almost standard. I know the old freight shaker I used to run in was a double bunk, but that's all it was, is just a bunk. And you want somewhere to just kind of chill out. You don't necessarily always just want to lay down and go to sleep. You want to sit and have a table and have a little bit of normalcy in your life on the road. But this guy's figuring it out. He's got he's got his racing set up to go after he's done driving for the day. That's awesome.
Well, and I remember when I was on the road, for the short time I wanted to have my gaming setup with me too, and I only had a single bed in mind, but it had a lip around the outside, so I could I created a shelf that had a screen that folded down on a bracket so that it would pull down, and I could lay in the bed, play my PlayStation, and then when I'm driving, because the windows there, sometimes when you're backing up, you can use the windows on these trucks to see out, kind of. So I could flap the screen back up, and I just would tie it with I had it on a bracket where it would tie with a wing nut, and it would stay up. But you kind of have to get innovative when you're out in the road for a long time, and obviously he likes playing his PlayStation and doing some video racing games. It looks like he's got F1 or Gran Turismo there, probably F1 maybe, but it'll be it's a good setup. Thanks for was it Ovi Ducati posted this.
Yeah, I think the truck driver we've seen before, he set it up in the passenger side of the rig, and just had his wheel and everything there.
Oh yeah, that one was just awesome because the monitor in that one, he had it like on a mount that would actually, you could just drop it right down and secure it for when he's driving, and then just pop it up when he's parked for the night or whatever he's doing, and rock and roll. Yeah, that was a really well done setup. You don't always get those options, especially if you're running in like a company truck or something like that. So this is what this fella here has done is it's just perfect. It's great.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to jump into results. But first, David, the iRacers Lounge Podcast Poll Award.
Yes, we are sponsored with our results section by the Yakura 2020 Throwback Indy Series. And here's a little roundup of round 19, which was the penultimate round for this season. This past Thursday, Brian Beard was looking to take advantage of anything that he could to help keep this lead over Paul Jenkins in the championship standings before heading into the duel, which will be the final round of the 9-4 Motorsports Throwback IndyCar Series at Charlotte. He snagged the Indy Racers Pole Award, which was a great start. The final 30 laps of round 19 of the Throwback Series could only be described as shocking, while a gamut of emotions ran through the souls of virtually every driver, battling for a top 10 finish, including the two drivers locked into the fight for the championship lead. Rick Ravin fought his way to the front of the field and was locked into savage battle with Christopher, while Brian Beard waged his own clash with Justin Kirby and Paul Jenkins, fiercely trying to move forward and preserve his championship lead. As the laps dwindled away, the tensions ratcheted tighter. Jenkins pushed up the track as he tried to claw ahead of Kirby and found himself tumbling down the front stretch. The resulting restart would culminate in a one-lap shootout, or it would have, except the combination of old tires and hot track wreaked havoc with race leader Raven and many of the top 10 drivers spinning out. While the restarting calamity may have been a tragedy for Raven and the others who lost control, it was a break of the season for Jenkins, who carved his way through the chaos to recover for a fifth-place finish. Christopher would take home his fourth victory of the season, with Beard coming home second, and Christopher Mitcherson rounding out the podium. It's a scarce 69-point lead for Brian Beard, and the new championship leader is Paul Jenkins, and Brian Beard has 69 points. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Brian is the 69-point leader. Paul Jenkins, as they look ahead for a round at Charlotte. And I did get caught up in that wreck at the end. I didn't spin my own tires, but one of the guys spinning sent me looping, and my car was completely destroyed, and it took me 5 laps to get back to the start-finish line.
Man.
Or 5 minutes, excuse me, not 5 laps. And that takes us to the Sunday race, or not the Sunday race, but Martinsville. We had to wrap up the Martinsville weekend, and LSU finished off that with a P7.
P7. Now, 3 of us in the same race here, obviously running the same set, and boy, what a set. Like I said before, man, that thing would just turn in the center. And I ended up P7, Tom Dreiling P5, and then Greg, you got a P2.
Yeah, that was that Martinsville race was crazy. The amount of times it went from back to front, back to the front again, it just it amazed me how well that setup would drive through the field. And then I think it came down. What did we have? I think it was a 5-lap shootout. We were in the same race. It was me, you, and Tom.
Yeah.
In that race, and I couldn't get back to the bumper of Steve West.
Oh, that guy was fast.
It was a great race. I had a nice discussion with Steve after the race, just talking about some stuff, and yeah, so it was a great race. I joked with him. I said if I would have gotten to his back bumper, I was probably gonna try and boot him out of the way, because I wanted that win. Martinsville was always second places for me this year, so but yeah, it was a good race.
Well, he won, and he was the fastest car, I think, for sure. Even he was faster than us, and I think he probably deserved to win because he came up through there a couple times, much like you did.
Yeah, I think it was really hard to gauge who was faster or not. Sometimes at that track because the tires meant so much. The further you got into them.
Okay, so that was fun to race that, and then David, you ran Sunday Open P6.
Yeah, this race had 27 cautions for 136 laps. This was top split, and it was really sad. I had a couple of streamers or stream viewers, and they were just like, "I can't believe this is how bad top split's gotten." It was rough. The result was really just a matter of surviving the wrecks and not getting too many X's. No one got to race, really. I felt bad because one of my teammates, Adam, was in the race with us. He ended up getting DQ'd out, but he picked up his 16X, making a mistake in a run, and then I started behind him on the next restart, running on the outside. I was able to run a little bit deeper, and I didn't compensate for that, and tapped him in the rear for a 4X and gave him that black flag. But it really I don't think we had a run longer than 5 laps. It was 136 laps of caution. It was ridiculous. Lucky to get away with the P6.
Good finish for top split. Let's move on to Phoenix Wednesday Open, and you get another P6.
Yeah, this one definitely ebbed and flowed based on a little bit of tire strategy. Definitely a lot cleaner than the Sunday race. It wasn't top split. And we did have an early caution or an early wreck. It actually didn't bring out the yellow. It was one of those drivers that everybody knows to just kind of watch out for, and he ran somebody over in turn 1, wrecked himself out, and then everybody else that ran the top 10 most of the night raced pretty clean. On the last run, I kind of made a wrong adjustment, and I lost 2 spots because I got loose and had to collect the car. I actually lost 3 and was able to get one of them back before just running out of time. And I'll talk about it a little bit later. That was twice this week that I got loose on that last run because I just got a little too aggressive with an adjustment.
Okay. I got P15. It was a fast car. I was a top 10-ish kind of car, 8th to 10th. But I suck and would miss my braking at some point and just cream the wall. That's the thing at Phoenix. If you come up off of the dog leg into 3, if you don't start the turn into the corner at the exact spot, if you overshoot it by 2 feet, you miss it and you hit the wall. It's really hard. And I just lost focus, and it was maybe 2 or 3 times I did that. And so that's why I ended up 15th. Greg, you're in the same race, but you didn't have that problem. P2.
P2, once again on the back bumper coming off of going into 3 and 4, I was in the back bumper of the guy in the lead, and I had planned to kind of just not run into the back of him, but just kind of get on his back and see if I could get him sideways coming off the corner to try and get by him. But his car did the old jump and blink and everything just before we got to the corner, and then it reappeared as I got into the corner, so kind of couldn't judge anything of trying to get to him. It was kind of odd. He never did it all race, and then he did it right there. So it's just something that had happened in the race. But man, the setup was good on the long run and the short run, and like I said, we got a little bit more into the setup this week. I've been talking to Morley about what was needed there a little bit more, and he went back at it this morning and did some testing on it and made it a little bit better. So you definitely got to hit up the schoolyard setups if you want to race all winter here in the A series, B series, and the C series for ovals right now. I know he's thinking of adding other stuff, but right now he's got that, and yeah, definitely use our promo code and try these setups out. And let us know too what you guys think of them, because we've had nothing but good luck the further we get into the week with them.
Yeah, Texas, Martinsville, Phoenix, they've all been great. Tony Rochette, he got P. Can people stop wrecking me? wrecked early, was down on revs, but was hoping for a redemption. Top 10 when 13 to go. The leaders wreck, and I got caught up and destroyed. Also, check out the aftermath. Thursday Open. Guess what? I didn't miss anything this week due to time zone problems. But guess who did? Tom Dreiling. I show up 2 minutes to the race time this morning. Hey, Tom, you ready to go? He's like, what? Isn't the race an hour from now? I'm like, nope, it's 2 minutes from now. He was in the middle of an IMSA race, so he missed NIS today. So Tom blew it. And I didn't. I ended up with a P16. It was top split. And I mean top split. There was like some heavy hitters in there like Ashton Crowder and Garrett Maines and Liam Brotherson, among Alex McCullum, one of the Coke drivers. Alex McCullum won the race. But I actually ran really good with the updated schoolyard setups set. I ran basically 8th to 11th until some jackalope ran over me from behind. I won't mention names, but he also got me caught up in another deal. So I was 24th for a while. Then a green-white checker number 1, the same guy who hit me before, was actually coming off pit road as we were taking the green and coming around 1 and 2. And the entire field screaming around 2, he merges off pit road right up into the field and took out like 6 cars, including me.
This is the same guy that actually got me disqualified in the first Martinsville race last week.
Yeah.
He's if he keeps racing that way, something will have to be done about him. I mean, it's one of those things, you know, they'll call it, if it's one incident, a racing incident or a mistake, but in that Martinsville race, he had hit so many people that one of the other drivers that he kept hitting turned him.
Well, you know, it's green-white checker number 1. Your lap's down. You're coming off pit road. Maybe it's better to wait until the field goes by before you, like, pull out on the track. I mean, the guy was a fool, and I was threatening to, file the protest, and I looked at the replay afterwards, and, I don't know if it was intentional. It's just stupid, and it's really just stupid racing, and I'm tired of stupid people, so... All right, let's talk other official racing. Greg, P1 at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, and that's I tried a couple different cars that week. I know, David, we're going to be running the Ferrari here for our races coming up. I've been running the Corvette, getting really used to that, and then I've been hopping into the BMW as well for the IMSA series, and I went in that race and everything just clicked. I started second and ended up finishing first, and I walked away from that field. I had a 57-second lead, and that was another schoolyard setup from Mike Morley. Car was great, ran consistent laps, and just held on to her. I do want to give a shout out to Ethan Irons. He was in that race, and because David and his Tifosi paint jobs on that he's painted up in the Irish's Lounge paint job, it was recognized, and Ethan said he was a big fan of the show, and so I just wanted to give a shout out to him, especially since he's from Australia.
All right, and then Tom Dreiling in IMSA, 4 wins at Laguna Seca. He had a fast LMP2 and just kept his car clean as much as he could. 1 win so far at Montreal. Love the track, and multi-class here is so much fun. And then ILMS, David, P1 at Suzuka.
Yep. I was getting seriously envious of Greg and Tom racking up all the road wins, and had a good run at Suzuka. It was partially because the guy that was faster than me, he picked up damage. Even though I got a weird penalty at the beginning, I was able to run it back down and take the win. So you take him how you can get him, because for every one of those that happens, you have some GT who's just not watching his mirrors and takes you out of the race.
Okay.
Well, David, I'm also gonna say I got lucky. I have yet to get in a race where I've had the LMT2 class, so that kind of helps when it's mostly the GT class.
Yeah, back a couple of years ago when I got those 4 wins at Montreal, it was back when I just had an I rating of like, 1,000, and that track happened to fit me. I ran Montreal like I think last night actually, and just pulled a P6, but I was the 10th ranked car. It was top split.
Okay, NASCAR Legends I skipped because it's Watkins Glen. I ain't going to do that. And so I ran the sprint car at Richmond, P11 out of 13 drivers. I hit the wall and spun at one point and went 2 laps down. I tell you what, Richmond in the sprint car, that's one of the toughest tracks for that car. It is so easy to get into the wall and wreck, and I did. And even though I practiced, I'm just out to lunch on that series. I just suck. Let's move into leagues and hosted Pacific Majors. Tom, P4. Wow, what can I say? Qualified 33rd out of 35 cars. Just didn't have the Q speed. Ran in the back to the mid-pack on purpose most of the race to figure out what to do. A couple of late yellows worked in his favor. P4. David, P22.
Yeah, I struggled early in the race with, I don't remember why, but I was literally about to get put a lap down when a caution came out. Got pretty lucky. Was climbing all the way back up, was in position to make a P10 on a late run, and I had went too aggressive with the weight jacker, was coming off of turn 4, and the rear end just went. I saved it and had to keep it down on the grass going through the front stretch. And I kept it just a little bit too low as I was making sure I didn't wash back up on the track, clipped the green cone, and got about 1.5 minutes of penalties.
This was that super long race, right?
Yeah, it was a full-length California race, 500 miles.
Yeah. I watched the broadcast as well as your stream on this, and I had a good time watching the broadcast. The race up front at the end, the top 4, I think, were just dicing. It was pretty cool.
It's interesting because it in some ways it behaves like a plate track, but you can't touch, and so you're constantly getting runs in each other, and it's a lot more dangerous to try to throw a block. It's interesting stuff racing.
Yeah, I was very entertained. And with that, let's jump into final thoughts. All right, Brian McCubbin, what do you got?
All right, I just want to give a shout out to Nick Ottinger and congratulate him on his series win. I've watched every single race of the Coke Series this year, and I'm going to miss it. And after a while, those races you get just as familiar with these drivers as you do, in professional NASCAR drivers. You see them every 2 weeks and every week in the championship series, and you just get used to these guys, and it's a really cool to just be that involved in the series where these drivers are just the same. You look at them the same way you look at professional drivers.
Yeah. And we want to get Nick on the show next week. I hit him up already. So he's been on before, but obviously we want to pay some homage to him and give him an opportunity to tell us about his season. And then Brian, how's the build going?
Good. Everything's pretty much put together. So I'm really just waiting on my headset at this point so I can get back into it. But yeah, it looks really good. Everything's come together really well.
Okay, very good. David Hall, final thought.
I was going to say what an honor it is to have Evan on here every week like we've had. We're kind of lucky. We've gotten all year to sit here with the premier announcer for sim racing, in my opinion. I mean, there's nobody better, and it's just been a blast to have his color commentary added to the show and get to visit with him every week.
Yeah, he is a professional, and like you said, what a great opportunity it's been for our listeners to hear what he has to think about the race, after the fact, and it's been a success, I think. Okay, Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
Hey, before I get to my final thoughts, Mike, I was looking at something from your results today. That guy that you said had a problem or was coming off pit road. Do you know why he was coming off pit road?
I don't.
he had 20x, so I'm guessing he had to serve a drive.
Aha.
Anyways, sorry, I was just kind of interested in when I was looking at something there. I just kind of same sentiments as David. It's been great to have a top series to watch this season on the oval side. We're all huge fans of the oval, and it's not to say bad things about the road or anything like that. We like watching racing. It's just we're mostly oval guys, so we kind of flock to watching oval series stuff. But I do enjoy those other series, and I hope we can get more into all those series as we go. Over the next, we got an off season here that's going to have a whole bunch of other series that are going to be firing back up too, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to a new beginning of our podcast stuff coming up here. We got some exciting things we're going to be doing with the podcast eventually here. Got a lot of work to do on it, but something we tried tonight, and we're going to work on floating out here as soon as we can. We'll let people know as further we get along with it. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to work on getting these things going for the podcast.
All right, very good. Tony Groves, final thought.
Well, I sure love to talk about racing, except I've been doing a whole lot of stuff other than racing, and some building and all different kinds of things, building rigs and some behind-the-scenes stuff. Lots of fun things. Definitely going to be coming up, just like Greg alluded to. So that's really exciting. We got an Aftermath episode coming up this weekend. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get that one released. We're having some bit of a timing issues with our upload allowance, but we'll get that figured out and get that out as soon as possible. But I believe our teammate Adam's going to come and hang out with us Saturday night. So look for that. Hopefully early next week. So like we say, Saturday-ish.
Hey, Tony, I don't know if you watched the Dale Jr. download this week, but are you mad that they stole your segment to start the show?
Well, I listened to it, but
them doing the taste test with the beef jerky, the sawdust jerky.
Yeah, they've been doing that last couple of shows. That was pretty good stuff.
Okay, very good. My final thoughts. Wow, I can't believe NIS is over. It is for me because I did my final start of the season today. Why? Well, I'm headed to the Phoenix International Raceway tomorrow night for the truck race. I got a ticket from a buddy who gets tickets every year and camps out there and whatnot. He hooked me up for Friday and Saturday. So Saturday I'll go to watch ARCA and Xfinity Championship. I don't have a ticket for Sunday, but it's kind of working out that I might. His wife is going to stay back in the camper and visit with my wife while I take his wife's ticket and go in. So hopefully I'll be there for the Championship Cup race as well. Looking forward to the opportunity to see a championship play out. I've never really seen that at Phoenix because it's always been the second to the last race. But this year, for the first time, it is the last race, and looking forward to it. So a little bittersweet about being done with NIS, but it didn't work out well points-wise. I think I'm 16th. I could fall as low as 19th before the week is over. But it's not bad, and I did get a start every week, and I'm glad to, just get through it. Excited to have Evan, joining us all season, and thank you again to him for all that he's done, volunteering his time for our show, and we do appreciate that. And with that, we'll see you on the track. Later.